What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the New York Mets post-game show here with one half of your hosts. It's your boy, CP. Rob cannot join me tonight. He had you all covered at the pregame, and hopefully we are on the same stream tomorrow, as I know it's been a very hectic, busy schedule for us both. He's been doing a great job holding things down, but we are here to talk about a New York Mets W, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Mets are victorious 8-3 in game one of this series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Mets offense again poured in runs early and often, coming off of a 19-5 victory in game four of the National Series to take the split in DC. The Mets offense was still up to the task, and that was without Mr. Brandon Nimmo, who was coming off of a 9 RBI game. He got the day off. He was feeling a little bit under the weather, flu-like symptoms, but they get the job done. David Peterson, a pretty solid performance as well. We'll get into the box score here in just a second. Before we get fully into this post game, I'll be up front. It's going to be a very brief post game. I have the Knicks game up side by side. It's a very close game, and I want to catch the tail end of that game, but I had to show out for this post game and talk about this nice 8-3 victory against a pretty solid Arizona Diamondbacks team. But before we get into it, please, as always, if you're watching this, whether you're on YouTube, if you're over on X, come over to the YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. It means the world. It means it does a lot for the channel to help the channel grow. So hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you're new. If you happen to stumble upon this stream and you want streams like this for the pregame, the postgame, anything else in between, talking about our New York Mets, this is the place to be. And as always, I really want to hear what you all have to think about this team right now, because they are absolutely rolling with an MLB best record, improving tonight to 21-9. Ladies and gentlemen, 21-9. What a start for the New York Metropolitans in this 2025 season. I want to shout out some people here in the chat as well. You already know what to do. We're talking about a victory. We're talking about a W. So you know what, chat? If you're in the chat right now, and if you're able to, please spam those W's, Mets fans. Spam those W's. It's an 8-3 victory, 21-9. Let's go. Site, we got Cindy, we got Rock, we got Cope, Ray. Everybody's spamming the W's. Darren's in the chat. Carlos is spamming the W's as well, as we're on a little bit of a delay right now. So I do apologize if these comments are coming up on a little bit of a delay. We've been having some issues with this streaming service, and it's just simply not great for the amount of money that we pay. It's frozen right now, so I'll see if it's going to unfreeze or not. And that's on a really big delay. Okay, anyways, let's get into some of the box score here, as this was just a very well played game by the New York Mets. I mean, top to bottom, from the first inning all the way until the ninth, this was just a fundamentally sound game offensively and defensively. And we'll talk about the defense here in just a second, because they did a marvelous job. There was some absolute web gems behind David Peterson in this ball game to help him with this final line. It's 5 innings pitched for David Peterson of 1 earned run baseball. Only 85 pitches, 5 hits allowed. The put-away pitches weren't really there. He wasn't really striking many hitters out. He was pitching to contact, which is quite okay, and no walks. Anytime you have a Mets starter that doesn't allow a single walk, no free passes, you probably are feeling pretty good about the way that that start is going to turn out. And David Peterson, who got an early lead, the Mets offense doing their thing in the second, third, and fourth inning, right? Across the board, David Peterson pitching with a lead did his job. The same thing can be said in the National Series by Griffin Canning and Tyler McGill in the final 2 games of that series. When Mets pitchers get a lead from this offense, more often than not, it makes them pitch better. It takes the pressure off of them. It's not rocket science. The formula is simple. If the Mets can be the early aggressors offensively, right? If they can apply that early aggression and get off to a lead, the starting pitching that has already been great. MLB best 2.29 ERA coming into today's ball game, they will be that much better. They will be that much better. And looking at the final line here, of course, David Peterson only pitched 5 innings at 85 pitches. I really do think that if Carlos Mendoza wanted to stretch out this start, any further, he definitely could have. He could have went and put him in that 6th inning, and David Peterson probably would have completed it with just about 100 pitches. But it was good to see. And this is really the reason why I think that Carlos Mendoza made this decision, was that Jose Butto has been on and off so far this season, right? He's been struggling, and then there's other times where he's looked brilliant. A little bit of inconsistency, and especially after his last outing, giving up 3 earned runs with that 3-run home run to Adams in the later stages of the ball game that helped the Nationals come back from 6 runs down. I really feel like Carlos Mendoza wanted to get Jose Butto back in there and sort of rebuild that confidence in sort of a laugher type of game. At that point, it was what, 8-1? Jose Butto came in. He threw 2 scoreless innings, 2 hitless innings, I might add, behind David Peterson, and handed the ball off to Herget. It was beautiful. Jose Butto, right? This is a guy that's going to have to show up and replicate what he's been able to do the past, I don't know, full season 2024, going back to the later stages of that 2023 season when he exploded onto the scene. That version of Jose Butto is going to be very necessary, especially in the wake of the unfortunate news surrounding AJ Minter. Now, I posted a short on my YouTube channel. If you missed it before the game, when Carlos Mendoza was kind of giving an injury update about AJ Minter, I hate to drag this post game down, right down in the dumps, but really unfortunate news coming from the Mets organization regarding AJ Minter. That's going to be a huge blow to this bullpen. The silver lining, and they talked about it on the broadcast in today's ball game, is that the Mets now have re-signed Brooks Raley, right? So we don't know exactly what the timeline still is for AJ Minter. Surgery, season-ending surgery, is not out of the question according to Carlos Mendoza, because this lat injury is pretty bad. But the good news is that, as Gary was saying on the broadcast, Raley is already throwing bullpen sessions, and what was an injury that many thought, coming back from Tommy John surgery and rehabbing, he would be ready at earliest in the second half of this season. We could be talking about a fast track in terms of him starting a rehab assignment and rejoining the New York Mets and being that second lefty in the bullpen alongside Danny Young. Now, it would have been great, and it might still be great depending on what AJ Minter opts to do, whether he elects to go the surgical route or whether he just wants to rehab and take an extended IL stint and hopefully come back maybe sometime, I don't know, early August, September, if we're lucky, and be that dynamic duo with Brooks Raley. But at the very minimum, Brooks Raley's career so far in the New York Mets uniform has been fantastic. He has been a solid lefty around this league, ever since he entered this league. And it was a good insurance signing, right? And it was perfect timing by David Stearns and the New York Mets to bring in Brooks Raley, right? And I think that they were planning on, right, the lefty tandem being Raley and Minter at some point this season. Unfortunately, the AJ Minter injury did happen in Washington. He looked very uncomfortable. He openly admitted in the postgame that it was probably going to be an IL stint. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with AJ Minter. They haven't really officially said what the injury is to Minter's lat. You could assume it has to be some sort of tear, right? For them to, I guess, allude to the fact that it could be season ending. So I'm assuming it's a tear. But in terms of the official, medical report, the official injury diagnosis, we don't know. I don't know, at least. So if someone has that information, please pass that along, because I haven't heard anything officially. So Anyways, back to the game, back to the bullpen, back to what happened after David Peterson's final line. Because again, David Peterson has been, we know what David Peterson is capable of, right? If David Peterson keeps on putting up these types of performances, he got in a little bit of trouble in that fourth inning, I believe, that drove his pitch count up. The first inning also was a pretty, laboring 23, 24 pitches in that first inning. He could have been a little bit more efficient, but if we get these types of performances from the rotation, especially with the offense looking like they're going to come alive and they are going to come alive consistently, they look like a different version of this Mets offense. I would say going back to that Phillies series, maybe even the beginning of the National Series versus all 2025 long before that. And I've mentioned time and time again, there's going to be a point this season where this Mets offense is going to carry this team to wins. They did it in the 19-5 victory yesterday, and they did it tonight by scoring 8 runs, right? That's what you expect from the top 5, a lineup that has this top 5 and the personnel that's there. But now you're talking about adding Francisco Alvarez, whose hit streak got snapped today. He was, riding a 3-game hit streak in that National Series coming off the IL, and Jeff McNeil, who also has a hit streak of his own. It's lengthening the lineup a little bit. But again, I'm getting sidetracked here. Enough about the offense. I'll get to the offense with the box score. Great to see Jose Butto. This is kind of a roundabout way. I'm sorry. I'm ranting right now. Hopefully you all love my rants, but Jose Butto, necessary, much needed bounce back outing. 2 hitless innings, 2 scoreless innings, and that's exactly what Carlos Mendoza was probably looking for in ending David Peterson's night a little bit early and putting Jose Butto into that ball game. And then Herget. I mean, I don't expect Herget to, be around long. I think that this probably could be his only appearance before he gets sent back down. He performed pretty well. He did what he had to do, mop up duty in the last 2 innings, and he prevented anybody of significance coming into this game from the Mets bullpen and really giving them a rest. You saw Reed Garrett getting warm in that 9th inning in case he was needed, but Herget got the job done. He closed the ball game out, and that's pretty much all that matters, right? Saving those innings for an already laboring Mets bullpen that has been holding things down outside of a couple of games in that National Series, that's the name of the game. And it's good to see that in the Nationals game, game 4, they're able to do that with Jose Urena, who got DFA'd earlier today to make room for Kevin Herget. And then today with Herget. It's awesome. It's awesome. That's exactly what you need, especially when you're talking about some of these starters. And I'm not saying today, right? I'm not saying today is one of those cases, but all in all, in general, the rotation not being successful in lengthening their starts into the 6th inning. Because that's all I hear. That's all I hear. You know what I mean? You heard it from David Peterson. So it's kind of hard to disagree with one of the guys in this rotation saying that. But as I mentioned to begin this season, anything after 5 innings of competitive baseball is a cherry on top. But that's just me. You know what I mean? I guess my expectations are low, and I guess that's probably the issue. I should raise my expectations. But with this rotation, with all the complaints that we heard about this rotation, how David Stearns doesn't know how to do his job, this, that, and the other, they didn't get an ace, right? I think that they fared pretty well going on, a month and 2 days into the season. That's my 2 cents. Jury's still out, right? Jury's still out. They could fall flat on their face next month, but we'll get to that point when we get there. So far, so good. MLB leaders in ERA as a collective rotation from top to bottom. I'll talk about tomorrow's game here in just a second. It's going to be Corbin Burns versus Brandon Waddell. Waddell, I don't know if he's going to be starting. I don't know if he's going to be coming in for long relief, kind of like Justin Hagenman earlier on in this season versus the Twins. But he is going to be appearing in bulk innings tomorrow as a quote-unquote spot starter or spot long reliever, right? And that's because, Kodai Senga. And they said it on the broadcast. It's it's no secret they don't want Kodai Senga pitching on 5 days rest. They'd rather have him pitching on 6 days rest. And they're going to have their wish with that when either Montas or Manaya get back, when they can go to a true 6-man rotation, because that's what they're going to do. If they were not going to go to a 6-man rotation, if they're going to stick with the 5 guys, they'd be pitching Kodai Senga tomorrow on regular rest. But a 6-man rotation is coming. Whether you like it or not, it is coming. And I think that having a spot start here with Waddell is very indicative of that. I don't think that they like Kodai Senga pitching on regular rest. They need to extend him a little bit more. And we'll see, could it mess up with the other pitchers' timing, rhythm? For me, I don't think so. I really don't think so. That was a conversation that I think Rob and I both had to begin the season, whether that would affect, catering towards Senga. Does that affect every other pitcher, right? And throwing them off their routine? It could. I don't think so, though. I think that right now, especially with these 2 stretches of baseball now, because we're embarking on another 13-game streak of consecutive games without an off day, the second time already this season, I think the guys would take rest when they can get it. Just my 2 cents. Let's get into some of the offense here. And I can come back and talk about, Waddell versus Corbin Burns. But I want to get into some of the offense today, as we're just about 18 minutes into this post-game stream. Again, I appreciate you all being here. You could be anywhere else. You could be on any other YouTube channel talking Mets, but you all are here, and I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Please make sure to hit those thumbs up buttons and subscribe buttons and keep dropping those live chat comments. If you want to hear me rant on social media, probably live tweeting most of the games when I'm able to watch them, you can follow me on X and Instagram at True Mets Talk. It's the same handle for TikTok. You can find me pretty much on any social media at that handle, True Mets Talk, because this is part of the True Mets Talk podcast. But more importantly, this is the Mets post-game show with myself and Rob, who's not here today. I agree, Dolo. Hit that like button. I definitely appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support. Let's talk about this offense here really quickly. Pretty self-explanatory. Early and often was the name of the game, right? In the second inning, you had Tyrone Taylor, with a double, a 2 RBI double, which is good to see Tyrone Taylor finally getting going offensively. He takes the 2 for 4 with those 2 RBIs that his double produced. And then Jose Alzarcar getting in on the action. I've been actually thoroughly impressed with Jose Alzarcar on, during his spot starts. I think that there was a lot of discourse happening between Mets fans when McNeil came back, whether he would be sent down, whether Brett Beatty would be sent down, whether Luis Angel Acuna would be sent down. I think that there was a lot of Mets fans that were probably expecting the Mets to send down Jose Alzarcar, and they decided to keep him on the roster because they wanted that true center fielder that could play center field on any occasion. Now, it's interesting, again, talking about Jeff McNeil getting some spot starts there in center field as well, how this dynamic is working for the Mets, trying to get some offense out of that center field position. But, at this point, that's a veteran right there. And Alzarcar, he got the job done. He's been doing a good job, both defensively and offensively, when his name's been called upon, which has been few and far between. But I think every team needs a solid veteran bench bat like that. And I guess the Mets have a couple of them at this point, because you can categorize Jesse Winker and Starling Marte as that as well, which is, I guess, maybe a little bit overkill, right? If you're talking about Starling Marte and Jesse Winker and Jose Alzarcar. But you know what? I guess you can never really have too much veteran presence on this team. So that's good to see. Do I expect Jose Alzarcar to be here for the long run this season? No. I think he's going to get DFA'd. I think that if he clears waivers, he'll probably come back to the team. I don't expect him to be taking up a roster spot for the long haul. We'll see what the Mets do with some of the prospects. We'll see if they entrust any of the prospects to come up and add a true outfielder. But I do think right now, especially with the Jose Siri injury, the writing was pretty much on the wall that Alzarcar was going to remain on the team, as they tried to gauge, right, whether or not they are comfortable putting Jeff McNeil out there in center field and continuing on with that experiment. That's a conversation, that's a discussion for a different day. So far, so good, but it's only been 2 games with that. But, again, you're talking about Francisco Lindor leading the way, 1 for 4, 2-run home run. I believe at that point in the ball game, he made it 4-0. Francisco Lindor is on an absolute tear. I think that's his 6th home run of April, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he is a table setter right now. And not only is he setting the table, he's driving in runs from the leadoff spot in a variety of ways, which is exactly what you like to see from a perennial MVP candidate, a guy that's probably going to finish top 5, maybe even top 3 in NL MVP voting for the 2nd year in a row. So hats off to Francisco Lindor. Again, we know that he's a perpetual slow starter, but he took that quote unquote slow start label and he tossed it in the trash because he is on fire in this month of April. Pete Alonso stays hot. Congratulations to him moving into the top 5 list for Mets all-time RBI leaders. He's tied for 5th currently with that solo home run that he hit. Another multi-hit performance for Pete Alonso, and he is playing himself into a very large bag of money, aka a new contract, a long-term contract this coming off season. And we'll cross that discussion and that bridge, whether it's going to be with the New York Mets when we get there. Spoiler alert, I think that a lot of Mets fans would like it to be with the New York Mets, but that's up to Scott Boras and Pete Alonso at the end of the day, and David Stearns and Steve Cohen. Starling Marte, 1 for 3, 2-run home run, his 2nd home run of the season as well. Always like to see the power come back with Starling Marte, who's kind of just transitioned and accepted this mold of hitting, the style of hitting of being a singles / maybe gap to gap doubles hitter. And the power is long gone in his career. So when he gets a hold of one and almost hits it into the second deck because he belted that baseball, really good to see from Starling Marte. You all know that I'm very hard on Starling Marte. It's not because I think that he's incapable. It's because I think that he is another veteran on a team that has a few veterans at this point, and the roster spot allocation could go to a younger guy, maybe more impactful, rather than deploying a tandem, a duo of, at DH. I know that's an unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people are going to fight me on that, and I understand why. Marte is a fan favorite. He's good buddies with Juan Soto. I get it. But all in all, we haven't seen that much production from Starling Marte. We've seen him also bat cleanup on a handful of occasions in which he's actually held down the fort. He's done pretty well. I'm going to cheer on Starling Marte, and I'm going to take his successes when I can get them and when we can get them. This is his last year of a contract. I think he's been a pretty solid Met all in all ever since coming into the organization 2022. Good for Starling Marte. However long this ride as a Met is, right? This is another guy that you just don't know if he's going to play out the rest of this season as a New York Met. And that's just what I'll say about that. Vientos, who's been absolutely on a tear over the past 2 weeks, takes the 0 for 4. One of those types of games was bound to happen. Mark Vientos, his OPS over the past 15 days is approaching 1,100, right? Him and Brandon Nimmo both, I know Nimmo got the off day today, they are putting together really good at-bats. Outside of the 0 for 4 that he took today, he's looked like a different, more locked-in version of Mark Vientos that we saw all 2024 long when he got called up, and I guess called up again. I love what I'm seeing. He's working the opposite field, right? He's working that way. And that's something where you notice these Mets hitters, Alonso, Luis Torrens, right? Mark Vientos. They're using all parts of the field. It's a lost art. I know Keith Hernandez loves it because he talks about it every time he gets the opportunity to do so. And I think that could also be part of Juan Soto's struggles. I like Juan Soto, getting a hold of a baseball, hitting it into the deeper part of the outfield the opposite way. It wasn't a base hit. It was an out. It was a fly ball. I understand it. But him just thinking about that part of the field instead of being pull, because he was successful in being a pull hitter predominantly in Yankee Stadium, different dimensions in Queens. He's going to have to adjust to it. And I think that clearly he's been struggling in the early goings of this season, hasn't looked his most comfortable self in the box, I should say. And I think that Juan Soto could learn. It's kind of crazy to say Juan Soto learning from somebody else. He should be the teacher, right? But, Vientos getting off to such a slow start and turning it around a little bit by working all parts of the field. I think Juan Soto, if he tries to replicate or emulate that, he would find some success, more consistent success, I should say. And Luis Angel Acuna. I mean, another multi-hit game. Someone check. Actually, you know what? Let me just check what he's batting right now, because I know a lot of people here love some batting average. They love the batting average stat. He was going into this game batting 288. I'm sure that goes up a little bit into the 290s, perhaps, maybe, with the multi-hit performance. He scores 2 runs. He's electric. He's electric. There's nothing else to say about Luis Angel Acuna. This is exactly why I was in his camp all spring training long, even when he was struggling, because he brings a different dynamic to the game with his speed alone. And now he's starting to hit. We don't need him to hit for power. We know that he can. I've seen him do it. You've seen him do it. All Mets fans have seen him do it. He's not doing that right now, and that's okay, right? He's primarily a singles hitter at this moment. He's picking and choosing his battles when to steal. He's oftentimes successful in swiping the bag, and he's playing fundamentally sound defense. Outside of that one, lackadaisical error that he had in Houston in the opening series of this season, he has been solid at second base. What a turnaround it has been for Luis Angel Acuna. Seriously. Acuna is batting 300. Okay, there you go. I didn't think it'd be that drastic of a jump, but yeah, there you go. Now he's hitting 300 after tonight. It's awesome. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Yeah, Starling Marte does get key hits when needed. I mean, yeah, that's undeniable. That's undeniable. I'm not going to argue that. And there's definitely reasons as to why the Mets should keep him on this roster in that type of role. But I mean, if you're expecting, the production of 2022 Starling Marte, and then you're also taking into consideration, is it the best and most efficient method to get the most out of the DH spot offensively, deploying this platoon at DH? There was a little bit of hiccups with that last season with JD Martinez and company. I think that eventually, whether it's this season or the next season, I would rather see the Mets stick to one name as their DH. I'm kind of nitpicking right now, but that's just my 2 cents on that. Let me get into some of these comments here. Hopefully you all are enjoying the stream, enjoying the post game. Yeah, I'm reading. There's a lot of comments here. Oh, Jay's in the chat. Late, but here's my W. Yes, it's a Mets W. The Mets improved to 21-9. Your New York Mets. My New York Mets, our New York Mets. The best team, best record in baseball. I know it's April 29th. I don't want to get too carried away, but this is a hell of a start. This is a hell of a start. This is a hell of a start. I don't think that, when we gave our season predictions and our win-loss predictions, I had what? Can't remember the number. I think it was like 93 wins for the New York Mets. Slight improvement from last season. I mean, they're on pace to win a lot more games than that. They're on pace to win a lot more games than that. Stanley, this is a great question as well. When will Blackburn return? I think it's anyone's guess when Paul Blackburn returns, because clearly he was trying to come back from the back injury. And then it was just reported, I think yesterday or the day before that he had some sort of illness that caused him to lose a lot of weight. And now he's slowly trying to get back from that. So it just seems like it's been one thing and then another for Paul Blackburn trying to make his return to the New York Mets. Um, you know, if I had to guess, he's probably on a faster track to return than, let's say, a Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas. Do you want to plug him into the rotation as the sixth starter for the time being? Maybe, maybe. I think that they would if given the opportunity, if he's ready to come back. But yeah, I don't really know what the status is of Paul Blackburn at this point. No, I didn't see Dolo's question, Ray. What's my question? Chris, who are your all-star picks from the Mets so far? Oh, that's a good question. Alonso's an all-star. Lindor's an all-star. Oh, man. This is where it gets tricky. This is where it gets tricky. I mean, the rotation, I mean, they've been performing really well. Do we really expect anybody in this rotation to be an all-star this season, though? I have a hard time believing it. I think you could see a pen guy be in the all-star game for the Mets. I mean, unless I'm just blatantly forgetting somebody, do I think a couple of these guys can turn it around and become all-stars if they have a great season from now until the all-star break? Yeah, but I think that really, out of the Mets mainstays, you're talking about Lindor and Alonso. It's pretty much it. I mean, you can put Soto in because of the name, not the production. Just being honest. Vientos, he's got to keep it going. It's not there yet. Nimmo, I think he could make a run at it with the way Brandon Nimmo's been swinging the bat over the past week, especially with the home run ball. What has he got, 6 or 7 on the season? I think he could make a run at it. It's going to be an uphill climb. But really, when you're talking about offensive all-star selections, like a very early outlook, I'm assuming this is what you're asking me, Dolo. You got to go Lindor and Alonso. You could probably see a bullpen guy like maybe Reed Garrett. How cool would it be to see Reed Garrett in an all-star game? Think about the story. Where did this guy come from? Who brought him into the organization? You know what I mean? And he just explodes onto the scene. He's been really solid for the New York Mets. He was solid all last season. I think that, if I would give somebody a chance from the Mets bullpen to make an all-star team for the NL, I'm putting Reed Garrett in. I'm putting Reed Garrett in. Stamp it. Reed Garrett has CP stamp of approval. He shouldn't need my stamp of approval. He should already get the stamp of approval from this Mets fan base, but I would send Reed Garrett to the All-Star game. A little bit premature discussion, I understand. Now I'm getting riled up. You're talking about All-Star selections. I love it. I love it. But yeah, you're probably talking about 3 Mets that could make a realistic run at the All-Star game. That's just being objective. All right, let's talk about tomorrow's game. Very brief. We're about 35 minutes in. Let me just check the Knicks score real quick. I mean, I love talking Mets baseball. I love being here with you all. This is already longer than I really wanted. The Pistons beat the Knicks. I couldn't even make it to watch the final minutes. Damn. Pistons force game 6 back in Detroit. Hopefully they are able to the Knicks are able to finish it over there. That's disappointing. Okay. Sorry. I was don't check it. We lost, bro. SMH. Yeah. I just looked at my phone for the first time in like 30 minutes. So yeah. This is the Knicks' opportunity to clinch a playoff series at home for the first time in what? Over 2 decades? And I'm assuming first time in over 2 decades is what they were saying. It's crazy to think about. They couldn't get the job done. Unfortunate. But let's talk about tomorrow's game. You got game 2, Mets and Diamondbacks. Corbin Burns is taking the ball. Newly signed Corbin Burns on that mega deal for the Diamondbacks going back to his home in Arizona versus it's still TBA or TBD on ESPN and pretty much every other app. They did the same thing in Minnesota when Justin Hageman got called up. I thought he was going to be the spot starter. They gave Huascar Brazaban that first inning before Hageman came in and did a fine job in that game. Hopefully we can get the same type of production from lefty Brandon Waddell. Don't know much about Brandon Waddell. I'm not going to lie to you. I know that he's 30 years old. I know he's a little bit of a journeyman at this point of his career. Lefty, so he's got that working for him. You know, career numbers aren't pretty, but he's posted a 1.54 ERA and 23 innings pitched in Syracuse so far this season. Don't really have high expectations. Again, the Mets are doing this. Hopefully, they're able to get some offense on the board, just like they were the past two games, so that they can just will themselves to victory. But do I have any expectations for Brandon Waddell? No. I mean, go out there and surprise us. Justin Hageman did. Why not Brandon Waddell? And really, this Diamondback staff, and I was talking about it on my video. If you all missed my video, I think I dropped it around like 3-4 o'clock today. A little bit of a Diamondbacks Mets series preview. You know, the Diamondbacks are now 15-14. They're a talented team, really talented team. They were in it until the end in the wild card race last year. It's going to be the same type of occurrence between whoever's not the division leader for the NL East. It's going to be the last, team or two competing with the NL West teams that are not the division leader. Their pitching staff, it's April, right? It's April, it's early. Their pitching staff has not performed up to expectations. You saw it with Eduardo Rodriguez today. I mean, the Mets were all over him. Corbin Burns in his first 5 starts, he's posted 3 games of only 3 strikeouts. I mean, when you think about Corbin Burns, you think about put away pitches, right? You think about 8, 9, 10 strikeouts. You don't think about 3 strikeouts. I think his ERA going into tomorrow is around 4.05, kind of up and down. He hasn't been bad, but he just hasn't been the dominant Corbin Burns that we've been accustomed to seeing so far in his career. Now, I don't know if you all hear that, but I'm knocking on wood because with the guy of his caliber, I'm not trying to jinx anything here and have him return to that dominant form just in time here, when he visits Queens and plays the New York Mets. But anything is possible. I think it's objectively an objective statement where you look at Eduardo Rodriguez, Corbin Burns, and Zach Gallen, and they really just haven't performed. I think Zach Gallen also has over a 5 ERA. And so he's going for the Diamondbacks in game 3 against Clay Holmes. So, it's going to be an interesting series. I'm surprised that tonight wasn't close. I'm glad it wasn't close, but I would expect the next 2 games to be close. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Bring up Brett Beatty or we riot. I think he's going to be back up. You talk about the trade deadline. I don't know. Anything can happen with Brett Beatty at the trade deadline. I'm going to reserve that discussion because I know that Brett Beatty has a lot of fans in this fan base, and I root for the kid. I want him to succeed. He's kind of built his trade value back up as well. If we're thinking about it in that lens, with just awesome production over the past, week and a half before he got sent down when McNeil came back. And so anything is possible at this point with Brett Beatty. I'm very happy that Luis Angel Acuna is prioritized and being prioritized, and he's living up to those expectations. Brett Beatty, also a little bit of an unfair shake, turning things around with the bat, was solid defensively, gets sent down. I saw it coming, though, and we'll see. I don't think he's going to be down for long because, again, you're talking about Jeff McNeil slowly getting more reps in the outfield. Not really much need for a guy like Jose Azocar. You can see Brett Beatty come back up. But at that point, do you stick Jeff McNeil on a semi-regular basis in center field alongside Tyrone Taylor and just let Acuna and Beatty work as a duo there on a platoon basis again at second base? There's too many mouths to feed, essentially, is what I'm saying with this Mets roster. It's a blessing and a curse, the way that the Mets organization and David Stearns has given this organization depth. They are a deep team from the 26 or 27 man roster all the way down to AAA and the prospects coming up. There's not enough positions and too many guys that we all would like to see play in those positions. It's a hard decision. It's a hard decision. So we'll see. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. They got to Rodriguez early, as Ray is saying in the chat here. That's something that is a recipe for success a lot of the time. It wasn't in game 3 in DC. You all should have seen me in those stands. I was speechless. I wasn't even yelling, wasn't cursing, wasn't doing anything. I was just sitting there speechless. Speechless. But those games are going to happen. It's 162. It's 162. And that's the beauty of baseball. But that's going to do it for me. I appreciate you all being here just about 42 minutes into this post-game stream. An awesome, awesome, awesome game for the New York Mets. David Peterson earns the win. Eduardo Rodriguez earns the loss. 8-3. Mets improved to 21-9. Please do smash those thumbs up buttons. If you enjoy these pre-games, post-game streams, all the stuff that I do. I posted a short for an injury update on Minter. I posted some clips from the game that I took about Brandon Nimmo and the electric day that he had yesterday, and I posted them as a short. I love this Mets team, and I'm assuming you all do as well, or else you wouldn't be in this chat consistently. Enjoy the ride. It's a long season. This Mets team, I'm going to say it right now, we haven't hit any bumps in the road just yet, but there are going to be bumps in the road. There are. It's unrealistic to keep this pace. So we're going to be talking about, a lot more losses this season, but hopefully we're talking about a lot more wins. Appreciate everyone being here. 21-9. Amazing. Couldn't ask for a better start. Couldn't ask for a better start. And given all the things that, fans want to talk about with the rotation, the bullpen meltdowns, 21-9. I mean, yeah, we can sit here, nitpick some things that need to be better. We can, get on Juan Soto. I'm going to hold Juan Soto accountable. He hasn't looked great. It was nice to see him have 2 multi-hit games in the National Series, but he hasn't looked great. But the rest of the offense is picking him up. And I love to see it. I love to see it. This team plays like a team. And that's what's so special, right? We were all wondering with the whole OMG situation, not bringing Jose Iglesias back. That was really the glue guy, kind of, you could assume, last season, how this team would kind of mesh and gel, especially with some of the newer faces. This team hasn't missed a beat. Has anyone talked about Jose Iglesias? Like, when's the last time? This is my last point. When's the last time someone actually mentioned, oh, we should have brought back Jose Iglesias? Mets are winning. Great production from Acuna. Great production from Beatty before he went down. Nobody's talking about Jose Iglesias anymore. Winning cures all. And that's why Citi Field is rocking in attendance-wise, night in and night out. Put a good product on the field, get the right guys in the clubhouse, just like the Mets have right now, and good things happen. Appreciate you all. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all tomorrow for game 2, for the pregame, and hopefully the postgame as well. And hopefully we're talking about another New York Mets victory. Peace.